We're getting wet and wild today. Hey y'all, I'm Alex from Alex on the Map, and today we're going to dive into rafting in Glacier National Park, which is an activity I highly recommend and didn't actually do until fairly recently, even though I grew up right by the park. My husband and I went and did just your standard rafting trip, and it was a blast. We had so much fun. So if you are on the fence about whether or not you should go and do this activity on your glacier trip, I'm going to teach you how to do it and highly recommend it for your trip. First and foremost, I'm going to go into a little bit of what the experience is like. From there, I'm also going to include a packing list of things you might need while you are rafting, and then follow up with some common, frequently asked questions I get about rafting. Okay, let's do it. One of the biggest questions I often get when it comes to rafting in the park is whether or not it is safe. And these guiding companies have been around close to 100 years at this point. They really know what they're doing, and they really know the river system. Honestly, the Flathead River is not one of the most extreme rivers you're going to experience while rafting anyway, so it's a great introductory rafting trip if you've never done it before. First and foremost, you're going to stop at one of the guiding companies that you have chosen. The top two are Glacier Raft Co. and Glacier Guides. Both of them are great companies and highly recommend. I usually go with Glacier Raft Co. just because they've been around the longest, but it really doesn't matter which one you choose, both experiences will be great. You'll stop at their offices, get all suited up with a life jacket and your paddle, and they'll also go over some safety information that you need to know before you head out on the river. You'll board a giant bus to where you are going to launch your raft. They will take you out on the raft. The first little bit of the river, you are just going to be going over those safety instructions again, and then you will slowly start to drift down toward the rapids. There's plenty of stopping space between those rapids too, so don't feel like it's constant adventure one after the other. In fact, you're gonna have a lot of time to just listen to your guide and learn a lot about the park. And that was the thing I enjoyed the most about rafting in general, is I learned a lot of things that even growing up there, I had no idea. The rafting guides are really knowledgeable. They know their stuff. So feel free to ask any questions about the park, and you get to see it from an entirely different angle, which is amazing. After you've drifted for a while, they will also stop, most likely, for you to take a dip in the cold water if you are in the summer months. And even during those hot months when you're rafting, it can be super, super cold. So just keeping that in mind, if you do plan on taking a dip, you probably will be pretty chilled afterwards. You'll go down a few more rapids, which are a blast. I didn't see anyone fall or even come close to falling out of our raft, which I have on other rafting adventures. So again, this is just a really good introduction to what whitewater rafting can be like. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what you should bring, because you probably will need to bring a few different items than you normally would for just a regular trip to the park. I do recommend keeping your hiking gear and all that in your car, just in case you want to go to the park later and do that. Also, you do not want it on your raft. They won't even let you have it, so it's just good to leave pretty much any valuables that you don't want to get lost on the river behind, because once it's gone, it is gone. If you lose your shoes, they're gone. So that's another reason why I highly recommend that you bring strapped sandals, and not flip-flops, sandals that you can strap like Chacos or Tevas, just because if you do happen to fall in, your shoes won't go down the river and you'll never see them again. I also like to wear a long sleeve shirt that moisture wicks, as well as some shorts that moisture wick, just because if I'm getting in and out of the water or getting splashed on, then that way I'm not freezing cold the entire time after. It's easy for me to change when I want to go hiking or do something else in the park, and it's just not a big deal if I get that wet. You don't need to worry about bringing a helmet or life jacket. That's all covered by your rafting company. You just need to come, put your valuables in the car, leave them for later, and enjoy. If you do want to grab some pictures, bringing your GoPro is a good idea. I don't recommend that you bring your phone with you just in case. Maybe unless you have one of those phone holders that are waterproof and that you can put around your neck. But even still, again, it's just like the shoes, and you really don't want to lose your phone. A shoe is one thing, your phone, That is not good at all. So again, that's another thing I would leave in the car. However, if you do have a GoPro, they include a mount on your helmet that you can use for about $5, and then that just gives you the opportunity to shoot any video as you go along. If you want photos of yourself in the raft, these guiding companies also include professional photography that you can purchase at the end of your rafting trip. It's usually around like $35, and if you want a memento of that adventure, it's kind of worth paying for. Plus, the photos look great. In summary, here are the recommended items I do recommend you bring and you wear. Swimsuit is number one. Again, who knows how much you're gonna get wet, but if you are jumping in the water or want the opportunity to jump in the water, that's gonna be your best bet. A moisture wicking tee, same thing. Make sure you can just cool off, dry off super quickly. Sandals, strappy sandals, not the fancy strappy sandals, but Chacos and Tevas. And then finally, if you are rafting in the summer, which is usually when most people do, you're going to want sunscreen because you will burn on the river a lot faster than you will burn anywhere else. The great thing about rafting in Glacier 2 is that there are 3 types of whitewater rafting available. So depending on your skill level and whether or not you've done it before, you can kind of gauge which rafting trip is right for you. A half-day whitewater raft, which is what most people do, is class 2 and 3 rapids. Again, that is nothing extreme. I would say kids 12 and up will have no problem with that and will have an absolute blast. Also, if you plan on doing a full day whitewater rafting trip with one of these companies, that is also class 2 and 3. If you want more time on the river or you have an entire day to devote to this might be a good idea. They also include dinner and sometimes an alcoholic beverage, so pretty much amazing if you have an entire day to devote to this. And finally, a scenic rafting trip is also available from either one of these guiding companies, and that can be a perfect introduction if you have never done this before or if you have young kids, because you still get that experience on the water, but you aren't dealing with the adventurous aspect of it. Okay, let's dive into some frequently asked questions about rafting in Glacier. First and foremost, I get asked, is it dangerous? It is not. There are definitely times where I have been rafting in places like Costa Rica or Indonesia, where it has felt a little sketchy, to say the least. I did not feel that way at all when I was rafting in Glacier. Again, these guiding companies are super certified, have been around for a very long time, and they want you to feel comfortable on the water. So I would say that it's always an adventure activity, but I would say that these are very safe. Another question I get is, do I need a pass for Glacier to get in for whitewater rafting? And the answer is no. All whitewater rafting companies leave from outside the park, so you do not need a timed reservation to enter to go rafting to enjoy your tour. However, if you are planning on doing a full day raft, the guiding company will let you know to see if you will need any permits or reservations, but most likely you are going to be completely fine without them. Is rafting good for kids? I would say 12 and up will absolutely love this activity. It's a great way to get them out and about and enjoying nature, learning about the park, and yeah, it's going to be a pretty memorable experience for them, I would think. Any younger and a scenic float might be a better option. The best time of year to raft in Glacier National Park is in the summer. Tours start a little bit earlier and end a little bit later, but those summer months are really when you want to be there, just because the water also gets really cold. So if you are there in September or in June, you're gonna feel that water cling to your bones, and it's kind of uncomfortable. July and August are typically the best and when the most tours are available as well. One question I also get is, can a beginner go on one of these rafting trips? And I would say yes. Even the class 2 and 3 rapids are really not that difficult, and if you've never rafted before but you're up for adventure, you will be just fine. You're gonna have a ton of fun. Worst case scenario, again, you can always take that scenic float, then you get an idea of what it's like, and then you can challenge yourself later down the line if that is of interest to you. I also mentioned this as well, but I get asked, can I bring my phone or camera with me on the raft? And I do not recommend it. Again, you're kind of playing with fire if you manage to drop it, or you fall in, or whatever it may be, it's probably gone at that point. You have to just say goodbye to it. Some people are willing to risk it. I guess that's on you if you want to do it. I would leave those things behind. If you do have a GoPro, you should be okay. But just be safe. It's better to be safe than sorry than lose your very expensive gear. Another question I get is there a best tour company to use for whitewater rafting? And I wouldn't necessarily say so. Again, both of the major tour companies that lead whitewater rafting trips on the Flathead River are very knowledgeable and great. So I wouldn't recommend one over the other. I would also just look at the times that they are available as well. Depending on your itinerary and how you have your trip planned, then you can kind of go from there and decide. I usually use Glacier Raft Company, highly recommend them, they're fantastic. So, but you're good either way. I hope this answers any questions you might have about rafting in Glacier National Park. Again, if you are on the fence and you are not sure about whether this is something you should add to your itinerary, if you have the time, absolutely go for it. You're gonna have so much fun, and it's a great way to introduce yourself to going down a river like this. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and also hit that bell notification and subscribe button for more videos like this on Glacier.